I've had this saw for 3 years and I'm going to show you exactly why it's holding me back. Let's get started. Resaw capacity on the Harbor Freight saw is only 5.5 inches. If you're not careful, it'll bite you. It's a pain to adjust the guidepost. It's manual. On the Grizzly, you have a ripping capacity of 14 inches and the action on the guidepost is smooth and fast. 3/4 horsepower versus 2 horsepower. A beast. No fence. This saw didn't come with one, so I made a fence out of 3/4 inch ply and a toggle clamp, and it worked great. This fence system here is definitely a game changer. You have the high fence for ripping. The action is smooth. It changes out super quick. This is definitely a bonus. A high and a low fence all in one. Easy movement, slides so smooth. This fence is dialed in. Changing the blade on this saw, unloosening the tension is a pain. There's nothing quick about this blade change on the Harbor Freight saw, and there's no storage on board. The Grizzly takes about a second to release the tension on the blade, open both doors really quick. Don't forget about your door on the guidepost right here. Open that up and remove your blade. It removes very easily. 110 volts for the Harbor Freight saw. Also powered with 110 volts, you will need a 520 outlet or a 520 adapter for this plug. This saw can be wired for 110 or 220 for all you 220 fans. Let's crack this crate. All right, there she is. Let me pull this apart and see what we have. Shipping was successful, no damage at all to the saw, only to the crate. Mobile base sold separately. You may run into some problems like I did. Let me show you. Nice. The final dimensions I ended up with on the inside measurement was 19.5 by 24.5. Snug down all of those bolts so you don't have a loose bar. This saw weighs 400 pounds and it feels like it. There is an eye hook if you have a hoist in your shop to lift it up. That could be very helpful. Don't put the saw on backwards like I'm doing right here. I thought I was putting it on right. I even double checked the picture in the manual of the mobile base and I was wrong. Maybe triple check next time. Hopefully there's not a next time. Lower the feet and then lock it in with that locking nut and then test it out and see how much lift it lifts off the floor and it rolls around. Should roll around nice and easy. Everything you need for your fence system will be in this box. This box here with the cast iron table is substantially heavier than the other box. Don't let it fall out on you. WD-40 and elbow grease was all it took to get this thing cleaned up and looking pretty. Putting on the cast iron top was pretty straightforward. Right through the slot there. When I turned it to the right, like the manual says, I'm hitting the edge over there, but I was just mindful of that. I didn't want to bend the blade, and I got through it though. It would help if you had a couple bolts, or at least one bolt already ready to start it and hold it. I just started each bolt just to get the table lined up and get it situated. And then I hand tightened some of them. And then I pulled out the drill and the 90-degree thingamajiggy and made life easier. Tighten it up. Put on the fence support bracket, one of the few parts that you need to put on this saw. The fence rail just goes on with 2 bolts. This piece here I'm sliding on is called the fence base. Put in the bolt and the handle, and then you're going to add on, well, it would be nice if you could see, sorry about that. You're going to add on the T-slot track thingy. This high-low fence is definitely one of my favorite parts of this saw so far. Adjusting the back top guide with a folded piece of paper. The book says 16 thousandths. Loosen this screw and turn this knob to adjust that guide in and out. Right here, I'm just trying to make sure these guide bearings get back behind the gullet of the teeth. I apologize in advance for not having the proper tools. I don't have any feeler gauges. I guess I need to get some. But I just doubled up that paper through this whole process and just made the best of it. Make your final adjustments, tighten up your set screws, and when you spin that wheel, your guide bearing shouldn't move, and mine moved, so I went back and adjusted it and made it right. The table was out of square from front to back to the blade, so I went around and loosened up all the 4 bolts underneath there and just I ended up shimming it with one little washer on the front right corner there, and it made it, well, pretty square. No adjustments needed. Nice. This saw already came with the factory tension on it, but I did tighten it up a little bit more. Just turn this knob, just turn it either way. You'll see the gauge move right here and tighten up. This one's set right around 3, and that worked out with the medium firm pressure test. Once you put some tension on the blade, open the door and push on the blade right here with medium to firm pressure, and it should deflect about 1/4 inch, no more than 1/4 inch. It's kind of a guessing game, but I like this method better than the flutter method, which I've used on the other bandsaw. To adjust the blade on the wheel, just come back to the back of the saw, unlock this lever right here, and you're just going to turn this slightly, ever so slightly, just slight adjustments either way, and then you'll check on the wheel if it moves either way, and you'll adjust it accordingly. but slight adjustments. You're going to come over to the wheel and turn it, and you'll see the blade move either way. And just make slight adjustments until you have it where you want it. I moved this blade back just to where the gullet is more centered on the wheel. Out of the factory, this blade was more to the front side of the wheel. I just moved it back a little bit. So just make those fine adjustments and spin this, I think the book says 4 to 6 times, till you're happy with it and the blade stops moving on you. And then come back over here when you have it where you want it and just leave that alone and tighten that up, and it should be good. And anytime you're not using the saw, you just take the tension off, which is great. You come back in, put it on, and you're ready to go. I am really curious to see how square this piece of machinery is. And I am glad to report to you that this thing was dialed in perfect. No adjustments needed. How do you think I should finish this off and collect the dust with this new bandsaw? Currently, I don't have any 4-inch hose. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'll show you what I'm working with in the shop right now. Mainly for sanding, all the portable jobs to the machines, and stationary at the miter saw. Let's check out this foot brake. This is the easiest way to see if your bandsaw is cutting true and square. Make a kerf cut and then slide that board around, and you should be able to slide that blade right in there if it's cutting perfectly square. Just like that. Let me introduce you to the power, the sheer power of this Harbor Freight 14-inch, $500, 3-year-old bandsaw. Can't even cut a soft marshmallow. Barely. I know I'm giving it a hard time. It's been a great saw for small pieces of wood only. 3/4 inch. Same board flipped around. Stock blade. Normal speed. Watch and listen. This is 5/4 maple, 8.5 inches wide, hard maple, stock blade. That's where I started, and that was me. That wasn't the saw. That was me not pushing it right and started veering off. So I reset. And that's hard maple. That looks really good for a stock blade. I bought a blade, a greenwood blade, just for ripping. But this is pretty good for hard maple on a stock blade and me not pushing it correctly for a little bit. What's that, 9/16 there? 5/8 there? Just a little less there. It's not perfect, but for a stock blade, first time ever running anything through this machine, I'd say that's pretty good. The only problem I had during this complete setup is this bottom door. It's still hitting after I grinded those bolts. But this is where the saw will be, so let's fix this right now, again. Let me know in the comments what your favorite feature of a bandsaw is, and is it featured right here on this bandsaw? This is my second set of bandsaw wheels, and I have to say that Grizzly did it right. Not with the long bolts hitting the door, but the wheels are nice and sturdy and steady. Unlike this camera right now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.